He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
So let's talk about the whole state of the private lending business. I refer to it as private lending. We talk about it as alternate lending. It's essentially non-financial institution lending. Let's just call it that. There's a provincial regulator, but there's not a bank regulator. And it's every one of these. So we just discussed this earlier. Everybody's situation is totally different. So what are you seeing today that you are seeing that's new and different for you in the last 6 months?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think when I started with Westboro, it was very much all the things you'd think about with private lending. So speed is needed, and so we can close very quickly, so people are coming to us. Short-term solutions, and so we're in the middle of all that. People who are going through kind of like a change in their job, a change in their marital status, all the things that you would expect. Someone's died and they need short-term money, all the reasons people would come to a private, and we did all that and very successfully. But in the last, say, 6 months, year, it's been a little bit of a different view. Those transactions still exist. We're still seeing them. But now we're starting to see clients who are behind on their mortgages with other lenders. We're starting to see people who are coming up for renewal at other privates where they took a first and second mortgage, being a bundle a year ago, and now they're coming up for renewal, and there's kind of shock and awe in terms of what's transpiring. And we're also seeing a little softening in some of the industries from the job market, and that's also putting a little bit of stress on people who they're up for renewal elsewhere and they need more money, as usually people do at renewal. They kind of reassess their finances and say, this might be a good time to leverage the equity in my home. The only difference this time around is there isn't as much equity as there was.
Or there's none. Like if they're, and I think the statistic years ago was 70% or so of Canadians take a 5-year closed mortgage. And so, if you go back 5 years ago, go back 10 years ago, when they came up for renewal 5 years ago, they probably had a boatload of equity, and they refinanced, and they paid for their pool, and they paid for Bobby's university. And they got a great rate 5 years ago.
And they got a great rate. And now they're kind of up for renewal again, and they're thinking, you know what, this is great. We're going to do the same thing. And the landscape is very, very different. And so those transactions are making things much more challenging, I think, starting with the client and the broker and the lenders that are involved as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point and a very compelling one that, believe it or not, yeah, we've always, you and I have always seen people who have some problems that need to access private lending. But typically they were what you described. They were a lifestyle issue, they're a life issue, marriage, breakdown, some illness created some lack of earnings, and then they're back now, but their credit got a little touched up. And so there's all kinds of things. But to your point, today we hear more and more from people who are slightly behind on their mortgage payment, definitely behind on their car payment, and haven't paid property tax for 2 years. So it is much more like a bad economic story today that we see than we typically saw in the past. We saw decent economics for the last number of years, even COVID, once the government started handing out those $2,000 a month checks, I mean, things kind of healed up fast. But we are seeing today more troubling personal financial problems than we saw in the past. I think that's very fair and very accurate as to what's going on. So let's go a little bit into the nitty gritty of private mortgages. Because Derek is correct. We are seeing some odd behavior by private lenders. And we're also, and some of it's just odd because it's, I call it odd, but other people may call it malfeasance. And we're seeing the difficulty of no longer are house prices going up in Ontario. No longer are house prices going up in BC. In fact, in some regions, they're down quite a bit. Like if you bought a house in North Oshawa in 2021, I think you're out of the money. Like it's gone down substantially. Okay. And we all know the condo story. I won't beat the shit out of it. I'll come back and beat the shit out of it later. Like I plan on many, many more episodes about the condo crash, but we won't do it today. But that kind of combination of of a worse economic situation and a sort of a provincial and Canadian economic situation combined with this because Canadians since 1996 house prices have gone up. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. Maybe couple of blips in between. 2008 world financial crisis, a little bit of a blip, only lasted 10 months, right? That was my observation of it. That's all it lasted. Those prices went off for 10 months. They were back.
Even the condo thing, I mean, you've been calling it for a while.
Yeah.
But you could argue that people who bought and flipped condos as, instead of putting money in my RSP, I'm going to buy and flip a condo. Like from say 2000 to 2020, they did well. Like they bought and sold.
Yes,
maybe they started,
well.
maybe after 20, they bought in 2020, or sorry, they bought in 2000, they flipped it in 2004.
2005.
And they said, you know what? Now I'm going to buy two because, boy, I made money. I'm going to buy two. And my brother-in-law should buy two. And my neighbor should buy two. And so we all buy two. And then to 2008, maybe 2008, 2010, they made money again.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.